Well, hello. Thank you for coming into this video. I'm guessing if you're here, you've purchased my 2024 Reseller Creator Spreadsheet. And now you're here to get the tutorial on how to use this sheet. So by the way, thank you for your purchase. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to share this sheet with you and how to use it to get the most out of it. If you purchased last year's spreadsheet and now you got this one and you're coming here for the tutorial, a lot of this sheet will look very similar to the premium that you're probably used to, but we will have some added features, some more tabs, and things that you'll want to take note of. So if you're not wanting to watch the whole video, at least make sure to look in the video description to get some of these chapters where you can skip ahead to those parts that are pertinent to you. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started and take a look at this sheet now. All right, so this is the sheet and what it's going to look like when you first open up on the start page. As you look at this first page, I'll let you read over this blurb, but take note of these social media accounts. This is where you can find me and get more videos on spreadsheets, as well as just my reselling journey in general. Before I get into how I use this sheet, I want to go ahead and show you this very last tab, second to last, the FAQs page. This is where you're going to reach out if you have any questions or if you have an issue that you encounter with this sheet. I've done my best to include a bunch of commonly answered issues or questions that I've had in the past, and you'll find those here. But if for some reason you don't find your issue here or you're needing help with something, you can always reach out to me below. Take a look at this section down here if you're still needing help, and it'll tell you exactly how to get in contact with me. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into getting started with this sheet. So let's go back to the Start tab. If you scroll down, you'll see this section here, and it kind of gives you some instructions on entering in all the information that's pertinent to your business. You've got 8 platforms that you can fill in. You've got 15 expense categories. You've got 15 merch creator, same thing, 15 categories in this box. And then if you're familiar with my spreadsheet, and if you're not, that's okay, I'll explain all this, but if you're familiar, you know that stores, you've got 50 store fields as well as 50 category fields to track things like the stores that you're purchasing from, so you can see which stores are performing better than the others. And the same with categories. Which categories that you're selling in are performing better than the others. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and put in just a little bit of information to show you how this sheet works. Let me do that now, and then I'll come back and we'll get going. Okay, I've got all my information in. I didn't fill out all the categories for time's sake, but just so you know, you've got up to the number in parentheses as far as fields go. So use as many or as little as you want. You can always come back and add more later. You don't have to fill it all out now. You can fill it out as needed, but it's best to get as much information in as you can that you think you'll want to track now. So let's see how this flows into the sheet. I'm going to skip around some tabs real quick, show you where this information is going. So we're going to go to the platforms tab first, and you'll notice that when I put in those 3 platforms, they popped up here, as well as titles down here. For these charts. You don't need to put anything in any of these. When you put it in the Start tab, it's automatically flow in these boxes. And this is going to be a theme that I'll just go ahead and say now. If you do type in over these boxes, it's going to mess with the formulas. So make sure if you're wanting to add a platform or an expense or a merch category, any of these, that you put them in on the Start tab and not in the other tabs. So that's the platforms tab. I'll show you how this works in just a second. Now let's go to the merch tab, and you'll notice here that when I filled in those 3 merchandise categories, those filled out over here, and we'll show you that in just a second. Creator tab is the same way. You've got those 3 creator categories that I put in right here, populating. Again, you'll see these boxes down here. You don't want to type in anything over this. If you want to add a creator category, put it in on the Start tab. And I know I've said that a couple of times, but I just want to make sure so that functionally your sheet is flowing and working. Let's see here. On the profit and loss tab, you'll notice that some of the expenses I pulled in came in down here. So those are the 4 expenses that I put in. And then lastly, we'll go to the expense tab, and you'll see that those same expenses are right here. And I almost forgot, the store and category tab. So if we go to stores, you'll see the stores that I put in, and the categories that I put in. So that's where all that information is going when you fill out this first Start tab. So you'll do that first. You'll enter in as much information as you want. You can't add any, so if you've got more than 50 stores, you need to pick the 50 stores that are most important for you for tracking. And same with all these categories and these fields. Let's go ahead and jump to the inventory tab, and I'm going to show you how this works. And again, if you have my last year's spreadsheet, it's going to work exactly the same as far as the way you enter inventory, and the way you record sales. If you remember last year, I titled this active. I've changed it to inventory because it may not be active. And this may be stuff that you just got home from the thrift store and you're putting in the sheet, but you haven't listed yet. And it can also be those items that you have listed. So you'll put the listed date. Let's just say that we're going with today's date of 11/1/2023. And then I'm going to put in here a men's North Face shirt. I'm going to put 1 unit because it's just 1 item. Key thing with the units tab that you need to note here is there needs to be a number in this field. So most of the time it's going to be 1 because your listings are probably just going to be 1 item. But there needs to be some number, so 1 or greater. So if you've got 2 items in the listing and you want to do 2, you can do that too. Okay, bin is going to be where you're storing it. Let's say I'm putting this shirt in bin A2. I'll show you how this works in a second, but you're going to have your own system. If you've got your own coding system or it's just all in the closet or the shelf or whatever, use what works for you. You'll notice here when I go to the store column, when I click on this drop-down arrow, it populates those 3 stores that I put in. So here I can select the store that I bought it at. So I'm going to just say I got this at Goodwill Rogers, and the category would be men's shirts. You'll notice the category is all pulled in. And then let's say for cost, I bought that for $4. Notes here, you've got obviously notes that you can put in if you want to use this. You don't have to. An XP basically just means is the item cross-posted. I use this column to just put a 1 or an X there to tell me that yes, it is cross-posted. So when I'm going through and crossing those items out to other sites, I know where I've left off. So you do with that if you want. If you don't want to use that, you don't have to. It's just a tool there if you want it. And then you'll notice here on the right, these 3 stats, the total active inventory is going to obviously add up all of your units that you've got listed in this tab. It's going to take a total of the cost in this column, and that's going to give you an average of the cost. I love just kind of knowing how much on average am I spending on the items that I'm purchasing to flip. So that's the first item. You may be asking, well, what do you do if you just got home from the store and you haven't listed it yet, but you want to go ahead and put it in the sheet? I'll just go ahead and show you that now. All right, for this example, I purchased at a yard sale a pair of men's North Face pants. I paid $3 for them, and I went ahead and added that in. And I mentioned to you that you don't have to necessarily put it in only when you're listing it. You could put it in just as you got home. And what you can do is leave this listed date blank, and then when you go to list it, go ahead and fill this in. So let's say I purchased it today on 11/1, but I didn't list it until 11/3. I can come in and put 11/3 next to the date when I listed it. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and add in a few more entries and then show you how this works to make a sale. So now I've got those 3 inventory items added in. I've got these women's shoes. I got them at Goodwill Lakewood, we're saying. And when I open up my categories, I don't have women's shoes in here. So to add these, I'm going to go back to the start menu. I'm going to go to the category and type in women's shoes, and then back to inventory. And then notice after I type that in, it gives you the option to select it in the drop down. So that's how you do that. I've got the rest of the information in here. Now the fun part, how do you log a sale? But before I get to that, I just remembered one crucial piece of information that you'll want to know. You'll notice these arrows right here, right above row 1 and 53. Those are hidden rows. So if you open it, you'll notice that it says do not delete. Now, if you ever come to this screen and you see these do not deletes open, it's not going to let you scroll down. It's telling you the current window is too small and your inventory is down below, but it's not letting you scroll. So what you'll do is you'll highlight just several rows of the do not deletes, right click and click hide rows. You don't want to click delete, obviously the message here, that will mess with the sheet, but if you just hide them, and then you'll do all the gray bars here, hide rows. After you hide all those rows, it will get you back to where you were. And if you ever wonder why your sheet starts with row 54, that's why. Now, in order to log a sale, we need to decide which one sold. So let's pretend that this pair of women's Merrell shoes sold. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight. So you're going to click into the row and go from listed date all the way over to cost, and you're going to copy that. We're going to go over to the platform sales tab, the first line here. And again, for the same reason noted above, it's going to start on row 13. We're going to click into the listed date column, and then I'm going to paste that in. You can see it pulled over all of our information. Now, one thing I want to point out, you'll notice that when I pasted it, you get this little red arrow on both the store and category boxes that says invalid input must fall within a specific range. This is a common little trigger that will come up in your sheet time and time again. It is not affecting anything. So you haven't made a mistake. You've done it correctly. Don't worry about it. If you try and open this drop down, it's not going to pull up anything because remember, there's no drop downs here. Drop downs are on the inventory tab. So the drop downs work here. The drop downs won't work here because we're pasting it in. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you. If so, just remember that there's no error here, even though you're getting a little red trigger. Okay, so we've pasted in our inventory to make the sale. Now we need to just fill in the rest of the information. So we're going all the way over to year. We're going to put in the year that it sold in. Now we're going to select the month it sold in. January is what we'll say. We're going to leave days to sell blank. This has a formula that will auto-populate that number there. We're going to say it sold on eBay. We're going to put in the date that it sold. So let's just say 1/10/24. And then we'll scroll all the way over to sale price. So for sale price, let's just say they sold for $35 plus $12 shipping on eBay. We're going to go ahead and put all that information in just like that. Now let me go back because I just remembered something from the inventory tab. You'll notice these two green columns right here. And you're probably wondering, what are those columns there for? Can I just delete them? You'll need to leave those there. You can hide them if you want, just don't delete them, because when you copy an inventory item over and then paste it here, it's going to leave two blank spots for those two columns. Just leave the green columns on the inventory tab alone and you'll be good. So now let's go back to our fees here. We're going to go to the transaction that we made and we're going to put in all of our fees that accounted for this sale. So when we go to ship the item, let's say that our label was $10.89. I'm going to put that in here. Our eBay platform fee, so this is the selling fee. Let's say that it was $6.75. And then promoted fee, obviously what it sounds like, did this item sell promoted? For places like eBay, Facebook, you can pay to boost, and other sites like it where you'll have a promoted fee, possibly. If it sold promoted, that's where you'll have this fee. And let's assume it did. Let's just say it was $3. Transaction fee is for places like Mercari and some other sites that have they have a selling fee and then transaction fee. For eBay, they don't have a transaction fee, so we'll leave this blank. After I've put in the sales price plus the shipping collected and then all of my fees, you'll notice that these two columns started to auto calculate. They changed. Total fees here is going to account for all of these fees added up. So the price that you paid, the price that you shipped it for, and your selling fees. And it's going to subtract this number from the money that you collected. So columns L and M. And then it's going to give you your profit. So on this item, I sold for $47 total, including shipping. I made a profit of $19.36. Not bad. The only other thing you'll need to account for after you log this sale is that it's no longer in inventory because you sold it. So we're going to go back to the inventory tab, highlight the row, and click delete. Okay, so we're going to delete it out. Now, there are a few different instances with sales that I want to show you just based on different sites and ways that you can make a sale. So what I'm going to do is log some sales now and then come back and explain some of those for you. Let's start with these two right here. Let's assume that on eBay I sold a bundle. Okay, this buyer came in and they were like, hey, I like your North Face shirt and pants. I want to buy both together. You agree on a price for the item plus shipping. Let's just assume that we're going to do $35 plus 10 shipping for this bundle. You guys have already agreed, and now you need to log this sale. You'll notice I put these on two separate lines. I still record them separately, as in two different transactions, and I'm going to split the financials between these two. And if you have a bundle of 3 or 4, you'll have 3 or 4 different lines. But when it comes to the sale price, $35, I got $35 for both items. So what I'm going to do is split both items by the sales price. So let's say the shirt was $20 and the pants were $15. Now I'm going to split the shipping. We charged $10 combined shipping for both of these. I'm just going to split 5 and 5. Now you can do this however you want. These can be the same number if you want to just do $17.50 and $17.50 to total $35. And the same with shipping. You can split it however you want as long as it just adds up to what your total is. When it comes to fees, you're going to treat this exactly the same. You're going to split all these fees between these two items. So let's pretend that I go to ship this item and it comes out to $9 total. I'm just going to put in $4.50 on each line. The platform fee ends up being $10, so I'm going to do 5 and 5. And then let's say it didn't sell promoted. I'm just gonna leave that blank. That's how you log a bundle sale. Another type of scenario you could have is making a Poshmark sale. Poshmark's different than eBay in a lot of ways, but main difference is you have a price that the item sells for, but you don't have a shipping collected and you don't have a shipping fee. Poshmark and the buyer handle all that together. You already know that if you're selling on Poshmark. Let's say that this Titleist hat sold in February on the 7th on Poshmark for $12. You only collected $12. You did not collect shipping. So we're gonna leave the shipping collected blank. When it comes to shipping cost, you didn't pay anything for the label because Poshmark just gave it to you. So we're gonna leave that one blank too. We're just gonna put in the platform fee. It's pretty simple. You put in the sales price, you put in the platform fee on Poshmark, and you're done. What if an item sells on Mercari? And let's say we sold this Sony PS4 bundle on Mercari, and let's say that we agreed on $150 plus free shipping. Now, Mercari, you've got different options, just like you do on Facebook and other sites. You can use their label, kind of like Poshmark does, or you can set it up to where you include the shipping in the price, like I do. In this example, we said this item sold for $150 free shipping on Mercari. So we've got the $150. We don't have shipping collected because we did free shipping, so that makes sense. We still need to enter a shipping cost because when we go ship this bundle out, we're gonna have to pay for a shipping label. So let's just say it cost $17.99 to ship this item. And then of course on Mercari, we're gonna have a platform fee as well as transaction fee. That's how you would log a Mercari sale. We've got two other things I wanna show you before we jump ahead. I mentioned that days to sell will auto-populate. So once you put in these numbers, you'll get a number here. You just need to have a sold date and listed date for this to accurately calculate that number. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, what do you do if you get a refund? On this, you're gonna log a refund in the platform sales tab. So let's pretend this guy right here, let's just exclude the fact that this was a bundle. Let's just forget that. Let's just pretend this guy got the North Face shirt and he's like, hey, the shirt doesn't fit. I wanna send it back. And you do accept returns. You've agreed to accept the return and they send it back. Once you've refunded the buyer, you're gonna log the return. So what I'm gonna do is come to the next available line. So that would be row 18 here. And I'm gonna put in 4 pieces of information. The year, the date that I'm refunding. So notice that he purchased in January, but now it's February, and this is when I'm refunding. I'm gonna select February. I'm gonna just create a title. So it can be whatever you want, men's North Face shirt. This is really just for you to know what the refund was for. So we've got year, month, item title. We're gonna scroll all the way over to this last column, refund. And this is where we're going to put the total refund given. Now for sites like eBay, you'll know that when you give a refund, eBay gives you a portion of your fees back. And typically when you do a refund, it'll say, here's the refund that we're giving the buyer. Here's the fees that we're giving you back. Here's the amount we're taking from you. That's the number you'll put in here. So you'll put it in as a negative number. Let's assume that we gave him a refund and it ended up being $17.50 that eBay took from us. And the last thing I forgot, usually I'll put in here like with the title, refund, and then what the item is. So you can do that too. Really just do what you want to do with that. It's up to you. So now we've refunded the shirt. There's one thing left to do. You're probably going to get the item back, refund them, and then relist it, right? So now we need to put it back in our inventory because it's going to be relisted back on eBay and all the other sites. So when you do this, we're basically going to reverse the sale. We're going to copy listed date back to cost, and I'm going to copy that. We're going to go back to inventory, paste that back in. You'll notice that it pulled in numbers for sale price and shipping. We're just going to delete those out, and it's back in inventory. When it sells again, we can go back and copy and paste it back into the sales tab. You won't do anything with this one. You're not going to delete it because that's a sale you made. You recorded the sale, you recorded the refund, and now you're good to go. Now's the fun part. Here's where we get to see how the platform sales tab logs all of our transactions. We're going to go to the platforms tab and you'll start to see your data pull in for those platforms that you've already logged sales for. So we've got 3 eBay sales, 3 units sold on eBay in January. None on Poshmark or Mercari. Pretty simple to read, but you've got some stats here that tell you percentage of your sales. This is going to be the percent for that month. So 100% of my sales in January were on eBay. So it's taking the percent of your sales based on each platform. And then you've got units sold and your average sales price, ASP. So fun numbers for you to help you see your trends across your platforms. You'll see some graphs down here that will start to populate as you fill in data and just show you visuals for what's going on up here. And then if you scroll down, you've got a really cool chart that will show you your platform sales on the year. 59% right now on Mercari compared to eBay 36 and Poshmark just under 5. Now let's skip ahead to the store and category tab. You'll notice that it's going to pull in all the stores that you've made sales on, as well as tell you stores that you have units listed in. So right now we only have one item in our inventory, and it's based on the store Goodwill Rogers. And you can see Goodwill Rogers, it's got 1 unit listed, and we've got 1 unit that we sold. For yard sales, we've got 0 units that we've got listed. All 3 have sold. And this will give you information on the items that are selling from these specific stores. And you can sort any of these based on the data that you want to see. So let's say I want to sort to see which store is giving me the most sales. I can click on this column, total sales. You can either right click or click this arrow and click sort sheet A to Z or Z to A, and it will sort in order for you. And I can see yard sales have brought in the most sales for me so far on the year. Last thing I'll say about this, if you want to see if you go back to inventory and you want to see this populate by alphabetical order, you're going to go to the stores tab, highlight the stores column, right click and do sort sheet, obviously again the same way, and it will go alphabetized so that when you're looking at your inventory tab, it's all in alphabetical order and you're not trying to find your stores in random order. Jumping to the categories tab, it's going to operate the same as the store tab, give you the same data, but it's going to be based on the categories that you are selling in. And I'll let you kind of look at that, but you can see here there's nothing pulling in for men's shoes because we haven't logged a sale yet. Okay, so that's how the categories tab works. Now let's look at the bins tab. And I know I'm jumping ahead with the different tabs, but I'm doing this based on first our reseller income, and I'll get into the other forms of income later. Let's look at the bins tab. This is going to pull in those items that you've listed into inventory right here, the bin tab or the bin column. You'll see 2 columns, blank and then zeros. If you've titled your bins or your inventory system something, that's where you're going to put it in here. Let's pretend I've got something for shelf. I've got a bin for A1, and I could keep going. I've given you 144 fields to use to record where you're storing your items. So use as many or as little as you want. You'll notice that as you start to put in your bin location, it's going to pull from all of these codes and tell you, hey, you've got 1 item actively in your inventory that's in this bin. I basically use this tab to know when I'm going to fill a bin, which one has the least amount of items so I can go grab that. I also use that to know how many items do I have listed in this bin. If for some reason A2 is showing me 12 items and then I go pull the bin and there's 11 in there, I've got an issue. Either something is missing or it's not listed. It helps me kind of keep some checks and balances on my inventory system. But you use that for how you want to use it. Okay, so I've shown you how you log your reseller sales, any sales that you're making online, eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, etc. You get it. Now we're going to move into different ways that you can log the money that you're receiving so that you can compare those different aspects of your business. So let's go ahead and take a look at these next 3 tabs. You'll notice down here, Whatnot, Merch, and Creator. Let's go ahead and start with the Whatnot tab. This is where you're going to record your show information. So let's just say in this example, you had a show today and you sold 20 items. There are 2 ways that you can record all of your data, all of your sales. You can continue to put it in one by one like you've been doing on the platform sales tab, where you list line by line each item that sold in that show. And if you want to do this, you're going to fill this out very similar to what you would do with the platform sales tab that I just showed you, with the exception of you don't have as much data to put in. So you can see here year, month, sold date. Those are all very similar: item title, units, sale price. But when it comes to the fees, you've got a Whatnot fee, you've got a Whatnot transaction fee. You don't really have any shipping except for when you're giving away items, you're paying for shipping. You've got tips that you collect, and you've got referrals that you may get if someone uses your link. Let me show you how you do this if you want to log every item separately. That would be the first way. The second would just be to record 1 line of your total show numbers. But let's assume you want to do it separately. You're going to go back to inventory, and if you listed these items in your inventory, you can copy and paste those just like you would into the sales tab, into the whatnot tab. So you would go to inventory. Let's say that this item was one of the items you sold in your show. Go to the whatnot tab, paste in the listed date, and there you go. You would then just fill in the rest of this information that is associated with the sale of this item. And as you can see here, I went ahead and filled in the rest. So I've got the year, the month, the sold date. Listed date doesn't really matter because you don't really care typically with whatnot. A lot of items you may be sourcing and you may be flipping that week. So that's not as important, but I made it to where you could still copy and paste that in so that you're not typing in the title every time. You've got the total sale price, and then of course cost is how much you paid for that item again. And then you've got your whatnot fees, and you'll notice that it's going to add up your total fees, meaning your whatnot fees plus the cost that you paid for the item. It's going to subtract that from the sale price to give you your profit for that item. Simple enough, right? And you can do this for every single item that you sell on whatnot. Now, I will say that's time consuming, and some of you are getting to shows that are 50 to 100 items in a show, and to log 50 to 100 sales individually is going to take quite some time. So you can log items individually like this, or you can come in and put in your sales data based on a whole show in account. Let's just leave this top one up here because that's one way to do it. But let's say I'm tired of doing it individually. I just want to log the whole show. We're going to put in the year, obviously. We're going to still do the month. All this is important. 11/1 with item title. I'm just going to put in whatnot show. 11/1. Okay. I'm going to put the units that I sold in that whole show. I sold 20 units. Now you're going to go to whatnot and pull all the information from there and enter it into this spreadsheet. And this is where it needs to be accurate. So you want to make sure and capture all the details accurately and make sure you're counting for all the income that you've received and all the fees that you've paid. So for sale prices, you would guess this is the amount, the total amount that you collected, sales price only. We're not talking about tips. We're not talking about referrals. It's just what all of your items sold for. So go to the app or go to the site and type in how much you made just on the sale price alone. And let's assume for those 20 items, we made $800. Next, you're going to go to whatnot and you're going to get your total fees and put those in. You don't have to break these out. You can put the total fees into one of these columns and you're still good. This is going to work. Let's just say that I'm going to just put the total fees I paid of $275 into this column, and I can leave this one blank. Our whatnot show brought in 800 and we had total fees of 275. You can see profit of 525, not accounting for how much we paid for those. Let's say those 20 items cost me $100. You can put that in there too, and that will give you a more accurate reflection of profit. All right, then we're gonna look at giveaway shipping. Let's say for giveaway shipping, we only had to pay out $675 because a bunch of other giveaways were bundles that people were already qualifying for free shipping. Let's say we brought in $42 in tips, and then referrals. You can either do this show by show, because obviously referrals come in not necessarily during a show, but they come in for the month. So you can log your monthly referrals here. As long as it's accounted for in the sheet, it's fine. It doesn't really matter what line it's on. So let's say for the month of November, I got a total of $75 in referrals. Again, you can do it this way, or you could also just come in, do a separate line for referrals in November, and you would do it this way. 2024, put in the sold date of 11/30, and then you could just put that in right here for your November monthly referrals. So either way, whether you record it with the show or with a separate line, referrals for the month, this is where you will record those referrals. Okay, so that's how you will log two different ways to do your whatnot shows, either individually or show by show. Or if you want, you could do month by month. So I guess there's a third option, but I'll leave that up to you on what you decide based on how much time you want to invest in this and spend logging in sales. Okay, so that's how you will log your whatnot income. Okay, let's go to the next way that you can make income, your merch tab. This is gonna be for items that you have sent off, like you make t-shirts or things, it's got your logo on it, you're selling them, and then you wanna record those here. So I've given you up to 15 different fields for your merchandise revenue. If you want to add any in, you'll go back to the Start tab and just add them in here, as I've said many times. But let's say you want to record merchandise transactions. It's very simple. You're going to choose the month that it's sold in. You're going to select the specific date And all this throws it into different tabs, so it's important that you put these in. You're going to choose the category, units sold, sold price, shipping, and it's going to look similar to the platform sales tab. So let's just, for this example, say we're in April and the day is 4/1/24. When I do the drop down here for merchandise, it's going to choose from these 3 categories. Let's just say I sold 12 t-shirts and I brought in a total of $225, and I brought in a total shipping income of $55. We're going to put in the total fees that we paid. So again, you can do this line by line. You can log in those 12 t-shirts one by one, which would take a lot of time, or you just figure out all these numbers and put them in here. So shipping cost, I shipped out those 12 shirts, and let's say it actually ended up being $67 to ship those. I'm going to gather the platform fees. So wherever you sold those shirts, you're going to take that platform fee and put it in here. Whether that was like Big Cartel, TikTok Shop, at this point, it could be a number of different sites. And you're going to put in your platform fees just like you would. Let's say it's $100. And then your transaction fees, let's say they were $50. And as we log this here for April, you'll notice that it started to pull in here that information. So total sales collected is obviously going to be the summation of sold price and shipping. So $280 collected in April, 12 units sold. And you can compare here your different merch categories and how well they're bringing in revenue for you. Let's go ahead and log another one real quick. Okay, so we logged another round of revenue on the hats. Now when we scroll over, you'll notice this chart will show you percentage of sales that each merchandise category is doing on the year. So t-shirts are accounting for almost 60% of the business when it comes to your total merchandise collected. Now, one thing that may come up for those that are doing Whatnot and selling merchandise is, I sold a bunch of my t-shirts on Whatnot. Where do I record that? Probably going to be easiest to record it in Whatnot, so you don't have to separate all those dollars out. Just know that it won't be accounted for here on the merch tab. If you want to go the extra distance and separate those merch sales from Whatnot and put them in the merch tab and then subtract them from your Whatnot sales and then put that number in Whatnot, you can, if that's not too confusing. But just know that you can't account for it twice on this sheet. You can't account for it on Whatnot and then also account for it on merch revenue, because then it looks like you're making twice the amount of sales on merchandise. So just pick one. That's the merch tab. Next, let's look at the fourth and final way that you can record income on this sheet. A lot of you who are selling merch, you're on Whatnot and you're selling online, are also making videos. You're making content and getting paid to do that. That may be you're getting sponsorship money, you're getting YouTube income, Amazon affiliate links. There are a number of ways that you may be bringing in money to make content or that results from creating content. So as we look at the creator tab, it looks very similar to the merch tab. It's a lot simpler here because you're not going to have any fees really. It's just money that comes in. So you're going to record the month that you get it in. So let's say January on 1/17, I got paid YouTube money. And the amount I got paid was $101. Let's say on January 28th, Amazon paid me in my bank account $28 for affiliate links. And then let's say on February 1st, I got paid $350 to create a video for a company that I'm working with. So as you record when you receive that creator money into your account, it will do the same thing over here. January will tell you how much you made on YouTube, as well as these different categories. And then of course you've got another chart down here telling you on the year which creator revenue streams are bringing in the most money. Let's recap the 4 ways that you can make money according to the spreadsheet. You've got your online sales, you've got your Whatnot shows, you've got your merch that you're selling with your logo, your branded, whatever, and then you've got your creator money. Money that you're getting paid to make content. So now we're going to dip into how this pulls in the rest of the sheet now that you've logged all the ways that you can be bringing in money. Let's take a look at the day tab. This is going to pull in every dollar from your business on a specific day. So it's not just online sales, your reseller sales. It's also money that you brought in for content, merch, and whatnot. So you can look on any given day of the year and see, here's how much my business has brought in total across the whole business. And you'll see random days filled in based on what we've entered into this spreadsheet so far. Now we're going to take a look at the revamped, improved month tab. And you'll notice it's going to break out all 4 categories: whatnot, online platforms, merch, and creator. And it's going to show you your monthly totals for those businesses. So of course, your whatnot sales tab, as you log shows and items sold, it's going to flow into here. You've got total sales, units sold, average sales price, total tips, total referrals for the month, and then total revenue. So the total revenue is going to take not just your sales, but also, as you would have guessed, your tips and your referrals, and add it all in and say, in the month of November, you brought in $1,004. Then you've got your total fees, your giveaway shipping, your whatnot fees, and your cost of goods sold. And then you'll have some charts here that will show you all that information up here. Simple enough. Let's move ahead to platform sales. I won't go over all these numbers. This is where you can collect all the information from your online platforms. And then this fund column tells you your average days to sell all your items in a given month. You can look at that and see how quickly you're turning items over. You've got your units listed, manual entry, and inventory at the start of the month. Again, these 2 columns are manual entry, meaning if you don't put anything in, it's not going to measure on this side of the chart. You don't have to. Again, this is your sheet. You decide if you want to do that. But what you'll do is, as you list units each month, you'll put this number here. So let's pretend it's January 1st. I'm ambitious and I listed 20 items on eBay. I'm going to come in here and put that 20. On January 2nd, I listed another 5 items on eBay. I'm going to come in and increase that number by 5. So you're just going to keep adding if you want to keep track of this right here in each month. So this is January. So far we listed 25 units. Let's just say at the end of the month, I had 250 units that I listed total for the month on online platforms. For inventory at the start of the month, I go into my phone and I've set a calendar reminder that on the first day of each month, I go in and I say go to like eBay and take my total inventory that is listed, and I put that number in here for each month. So let's say on January 1st, I had 1,000 units on eBay or whatever site you're selling on. Whatever that total number is, just put it in there. As you start to record sales, your sell-through rate will start to calculate. So this sell-through rate number will tell you how much of your inventory you're selling each month. So it's going to take what you've sold, 3 units so far, divided by what you started with at the beginning of the month, 1,000. And it will increase as the month goes on and you log more sales in the spreadsheet. Let's say at the end of January, this number is 25%. That means you sold 1/4 of your inventory that month, which is a pretty good number. So use this how you want to measure whether you're moving your items fast enough for you or whether you need to make some changes to increase that. And the last column, inventory growth or decline, is going to take the amount of units that you listed for that month minus the amount of units you sold and tell you whether you've grown your inventory or reduced it. Then if you scroll over, you've got pretty much an outlook of your merch. This is going to pull all of your merchandise categories into one and give you the total sales for merch. And you've got some stats here to look at as well. Sales per day, units sold, total shipping cost, and total platform and transaction fees. So it'll take the complete summation of all of that here. And then same for creator. There's not a lot of things to measure. It's just how much money are you bringing in with your creator money per month based on the whole content creation side of your business. Okay, so that's the month tab. A lot to look at. Now let's take a look at the year tab. And if we look at it, you'll notice that it's just one look of your business right here, very simply. So you've got the 4 revenue categories: whatnot, platforms, creator, and merch. Tells you the total you've brought in for your business for the year in each of those categories, and then your total revenue for the year. It's pretty simple, right? And then you've got a chart down below that will show you comparing each of those revenue streams, how well they're doing against one another. Now we get to look at a new tab that I'm excited to share with you, and that's the profit and loss tab, or P&L. It's going to pull in all of your money month by month, line by line. And this is very beneficial for when you give your numbers to your tax accountant or your tax professional who's doing your taxes. They can start to gather that information really quickly as long as you've been keeping accurate numbers in your spreadsheet. All of our revenue here at the top, followed by all of our expenses down here at the bottom. So you've got these 4 here that are going to automatically pull in all of your income month by month on this sheet. So this sheet is almost 100% automatic with the exception of a few fields. And then you've got your total refunds here. So on your online platforms, it's going to pull in all the refunds that you've given out each month and account for the total for the year here. And then you'll notice in between, you've got 5 manual entries for income. So let's say you've run out of places to put income, or you've got a stream that's coming in that you're not accounting for in the sheet. You can go in and type over these manual. So let's say that I want to account for my Etsy spreadsheet sales, and I'm not doing that on this sheet anywhere else. I can come in here and type in Etsy sales. Now again, you'll only type over anything that says manual. So for revenue, you've got up to 5 additional revenue fields on the profit and loss tab. Now, as you might have guessed, since I'm manually putting this information in, that means I need to manually enter in the numbers too. So if I wanted to at the end of January, I could go to Etsy, pull in my total sales, and let's just say my total sales for January were $750, and I can type that in here. I can account for month by month those streams of revenue that I'm not accounting for anywhere else on the sheet. You may not be using this at all if you don't have additional streams of revenue. This is just there in case you need it and you've run out of room other places as well. So that's the top half of the P&L, and that's going to calculate all of your income minus refunds right here, total income. If we scroll down, as you would have guessed, it's going to pull in all of your expenses. Let's go ahead and quickly highlight the 3 categories that are automated that you'll have expenses in. Your whatnot fees. When you go to put in your expenses here, it's going to pull over to the P&L tab. And if you remember, here are total whatnot fees for November pulled in here. Your online platforms, it's going to pull in month by month the platform fees and the promoted fees and the transaction fees that you entered in before. It's going to sum those up into one number for the month here. So it doesn't matter if it's sold on eBay or Poshmark, it's just going to take all your platform fees and put it in here. Then we've got our merch fees. It's going to go to the merch tab, and it's going to pull in, let's scroll over, it's going to pull in all of your fees that are associated with your merch sales and put it in the P&L tab here. Anytime you put a shipping cost in this sheet, whether it's in Whatnot or your online platforms or your merch, it's going to take all of the shipping costs that you paid out and accounted for in this sheet and put them here month by month. This is a lot of information, and I know I'm going fast, but I don't want this video to be too long. Hopefully this is all making sense. Okay, so these are all automated. You don't need to do anything. As long as you're recording all of your transactions, no matter on what site, it's going to pull all that in. So from here to here are going to be expenses that you're accounting for in the business. Hang with me for just a second. Let's go back to the Start tab. But we put in 4 expense categories here, and those pulled over here, those 4 expense categories here. Remember, if you want to add expense categories, you won't do that here. You'll go back to the Start tab and add those here. But it's going to automatically pull in all of your expenses. And as you log expenses, it's going to throw those numbers into this sheet as well, so that you can see your total expenses month by month across your whole business right here on this sheet. And then of course, just like we had at the top, we had some manual income. We've got 5 manual expense categories just in case you run out of room and you want to track that somewhere. So you'll do it exactly like you did up here at the top with the manual income. You'll type over any of these manual entry for what the expense would be. You'll only do that if you run out of categories, and most of you probably won't. Now, the reason why I've put this profit and loss in here is because, let's say you make sales on eBay. You sold a shirt for $20, you had fees of $10, you made $10 profit, right? Yes, but you had other things that cost you along the way that you didn't account for there, like tape or boxes or supplies or things like that you want to account for somewhere. And so this number is going to be across your whole business. Income minus your total expenses will give you the grand total of net profit for your business. Okay, that's the profit and loss tab. So you may be wondering, after I've told you all of that, well, where are these expenses pulled from? Let's go to the expense tab here. Okay, again, you filled out some expense categories here on the Start tab, and they populated here. Now it's time to record your expenses day by day as you acquire them. You come in, you put a month, a day, a category, amount, and notes if you want to use them. I've logged 3 expenses that I incurred at some point in the year. Okay, let's go over this and see how this works in the sheet. So let's take this first one on May 2nd. I went to Goodwill and I purchased $125 worth of stuff. I came out with a bunch of bags of clothes and it totaled, including tax, $125. I'm going to account for that here. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but I kind of alluded to it earlier when I said on the inventory tab, when you're accounting for the cost of each item, like this shirt that I bought, it cost me $4 and I put that here, is different than this because this is the total amount that you spent on all your items at that store at one time. This number is going to go into the profit and loss tab. And you'll notice it went in for May right here. So it's really important that you're logging the amount that you spent on items that you got to flip here in the total amount that you paid. So the number at the bottom of your receipt that includes tax and everything else, that bottom number goes here. That way, when your accountant gets this sheet, they see how much you've spent on the year for those items that you thrifted or got at yard sales or what have you. This cost of goods column here is purely educational and is just showing you an idea of what you're making profit-wise item by item. Okay, June 17th, we bought shipping supplies, boxes on Amazon for $45. And August 31st, I paid my storage unit rent bill of $250 that was associated with my business that I store my items at. And as I've logged those three expenses, they will take into account over here next to each category under the month that they happened and give you a total for the year here. If we go back to the profit and loss tab, you'll notice cost of goods pulled in, shipping supplies pulled in, and rent pulled in as expenses here. So that's the expense tab. Okay, moving quickly, home office expense. You don't have to fill this out, but if you're especially working from home, storing your items from home, you have your office set up, you maybe do credit for a portion of the home that you're using for the business. Now, I'm not a tax expert. I'm not going to give you any tax advice. Big disclaimer here. So talk to a licensed tax professional. But to give you a quick tip on how to use this tab, you have things like utilities that you pay for your home, your cell phone bill, water and trash, heating, electric, internet, things like that that may be associated with your home office that you can get credit for. So this tab is 98% manual, meaning you'll type in the information you want to track, but you can put it here so when you get to the end of the year, all your information is right there. So for bill 1, let's say I want to track my water and trash bill. Bill 2, my electric bill. Bill 3, my cell phone. Obviously, these are things you're using for the business. Bill 4, let's say my gas. And I could go on, so on and so forth, up to 10. And then at the end of each month, I'm going to go find that bill, put in the total amount that I paid. So if my water bill was $67.17 in January, I'm going to put that number here. And you're going to do that for all of these, the total amount that you paid. Your tax accountant or your professional you're talking to will know how to use these. You don't need to know what to do with them. Just put the number in there and you'll be fine. And this bottom part is a credit you may be able to get if you're making changes to your home. So let's say you had some maintenance on your home. You may be able to write off a portion of that for the business. You'll put the date that you incurred those expenses, the description, the total amount you paid, and who you paid to, what company you use. So I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to get a credit on your taxes. This is just to keep track so that your accountant knows at the end of the year, hey, these are things to take note of and see if I qualify for being able to reduce my taxes by some of these credits. Next, you've got the mileage tab. Really simple tab to track the miles you're using for your business. So you're going to put the date that you thrifted or drove for your business, date that occurred, your beginning odometer, and your ending odometer. And then it will calculate the total miles you've driven for the year, so your tax accountant can use those later on and give you that credit. Last tab on this sheet, and then we're done. Now we come to a new tab that I'm excited to share with you, and that's the Consignment tab. Many of you are selling items for other people, and you want a place to keep track of those sales so that you know how much to pay them out each month. So this is the 2024 Consignment template. You'll notice that it's blank. For each person that you have a consignor relationship with, you'll want to create a sheet. This is just the template. You won't want to use this sheet because if you use this, the template will be filled in. So make sure to make a copy. So to do that, let's click down here on Consignment Template and then right click, and you're going to click Duplicate. And it's going to make another form of this sheet here for you, and it says Copy Of. So let's double click that and then type in the person's name that you'd like to keep track of. So for me, I sell things for the neighbor. So I'm going to put in here neighbor. We'll just keep it at that. And then at the top here, if I want, I could come in here and put in neighbor as well. Okay, so this is going to be the place where I'm going to record all of my neighbors' transactions. Now over here on the left, you'll see their rate. This is the rate that you've agreed upon with this person. So maybe for my neighbor, I'm giving him 40% of profits, and that's the rate we've agreed upon. This chart right here will tell you how much you owe that person at the end of each month. So there are two ways that you can take a cut. You can do the percent of the sales price, or you can do a percent of the profit. And in this example, let's just say I'm giving him 40% of the profit. That's what we've agreed on. So either way, each of these columns will take into account based on those numbers. The great thing about this tab is you don't need to enter any information. You don't have to type anything in. It's just copy and paste. So let me show you how this works. Let's go back to the platform sales tab. And let's say that one of these items I sold for the neighbor, I recorded here on the platform sales tab. So I still recorded it in the platform sales tab because it was a sale I had on that platform, but now I need to track it in the neighbor's consignment tab. Let's pretend that this Titleist hat was the hat that I sold, that I got from the neighbor and sold it for them. So I'm going to scroll all the way over and we're going to capture, starting with the year of this line, all the way across through transaction fee. So you're not going to capture the total fees or the profit. It's just year all the way through transaction fee. I'm going to select that, copy, and then we're going to go back to the neighbor template. I'm going to click on the first available year column here at the top, and I'm going to paste it in. Now that I've pasted it in, it captures everything that was recorded before and puts it here. So I don't have to type in anything else. The sale is captured. So for this item that we sold in February, this Titleist hat we sold for the neighbor, I'm giving them 40% of the profit. So 40% of 905. Now these numbers over here, you don't typically really have to look at. It's just there if you want to know. These first two are going to be your payout, what percent of the sale that you get, or percent of profit. And then these next two will be the percent that they get, whether that's percent of profit or sales price. So based on our agreement of I'm taking 60, they're taking 40, my payout on profit, because that's our agreement, would be $5.43. Their payout would be $3.62. And if you add those two together, they total $9.05 profit on the item. I say all that and then say this. You don't really need to look at these because you're going to be logging transactions and you don't need to know line by line. You can look simply over here and notice that for February, it pulled in the amount that I need to pay that person for the month. So again, take your agreement. Is it based on sales price or profit? Our agreement is based on profit. So at the end of February, I would look at this number and I would write a check or Venmo or whatever I do to pay that person this amount. And that's a quick way to see your consignment payouts and how much you owe each month, followed by at the bottom a total that you've paid. So let's just do this one more time really quickly. You'll notice February went up because we just recorded a second consignment sale, and now we owe as a percentage of the profit $49.82. So you figure out your agreements, you figure out whether it's sales price or profit, you put in their rate here, and then you start recording your transactions. Super simple. Okay, so if you made it this far, you've watched the whole video. Thanks again for sticking with me this long. But there's one other thing I want to show you for returning users. So if you purchased last year's spreadsheet and now you need to put in your inventory into this spreadsheet, let me show you how to do that. Let's pretend that it's January 1st. You're ready to put in all of your inventory from your last sheet into this one. Let's go up to the top here. You'll see this demo premium. Let's pretend that this is my 2023 spreadsheet. I'm going to go to the active inventory tab here, and you'll see that I have all of these inventory items that haven't sold yet, but I want to pull them into the new sheet. It's really simple. You're going to go to the first line. So for me, this is line 55. I'm going to click on listed date and go all the way over through XP. I'm going to scroll all the way down until I get to the last line. We're going to copy all of that. We're going to go back to the creator spreadsheet, go to the top line, click in listed date, and then paste it. And you'll notice it pastes in really nicely. So I don't have to change anything. Everything is in. Again, you'll see these red little tickers. Don't worry about those. That's fine. It's not an error. It will still work with the sheet. So that's how you quickly pull in your inventory. Everything that's still active on the last sheet is now in the new sheet. Okay, so I've spent a lot of time talking and giving you the demonstration of this spreadsheet. I hope I've answered any questions for you, but if you do have questions that come up, feel free to reach out and let me know. Thanks again for your purchase of the spreadsheet, and I'm looking forward to how this is going to greatly impact your business and how it's going to help you organize your numbers so that come tax time, it's not a headache. And also you can just keep up with your numbers throughout the year and see your progress tracked right there, real time, month by month, day by day. So that's all I have for you. Thanks so much. Have a great day. We'll catch you on another video.